Introduction to Ecclesiastes, the book that questioned everything. Long before self-help books filled our shelves, before philosophers gave lectures on the meaning of life, before poets wrote of lost time and vanishing dreams, there was Ecclesiastes, a book written thousands of years ago, yet it reads like the journal of someone who's lived in your very skin. It is not a book that flatters. It is not a book that comforts you with cheerful illusions. It dares to say what most are afraid to admit, that so much of what we chase in life, success, pleasure, status, control, is fleeting, like smoke in the wind. Traditionally attributed to King Solomon in his later years, Ecclesiastes carries the voice of a man who has tasted everything the world could offer: wisdom, power, wealth, desire. And yet, standing at the height of it all, he declares with haunting honesty, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." But don't mistake this for cynicism. This is not the bitterness of a man defeated by life. It is the clarity of one who has seen through it. He invites you to look closer at the world you live in, to slow down, to feel the passage of time, to ask yourself questions that really matter. What endures when beauty fades? What holds meaning when laughter turns to silence? What does it truly mean to live wisely while we still have breath? Ecclesiastes is not here to preach. It's here to reflect with you. It doesn't hand you conclusions, it hands you a mirror. And in that mirror, you may see your own striving, your own searching, your own soul reaching for something more. So read it slowly. Let its ancient rhythms echo through your modern heart. Let it unsettle you. Let it awaken you. Because some books tell you how to live, but this one dares to ask, why are you living? Chapter 1. The Vanity of All Things. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, proclaims the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What does all of man's labor under the sun yield? The planet endures forever despite the passing of generations. The cycle is endless. The sun rises, sets, and rushes back to its starting point. The wind blows south, then north, and so on, endlessly twisting and circling. The sea is never filled despite all rivers flowing into it. They always return to their original source. All things are wearying, more than words can express. The eye is never satisfied with seeing, nor the ear with hearing. What has been shall be again, and what has been done shall be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything one can say, "See, this is new"? It has already been for ages before us. No memory remains of former things, nor will there be remembrance of future things among those who will come afterward. In Jerusalem, I, the preacher, ruled over Israel. I decided to search for and wisely investigate everything that is done under heaven, this terrible labor that God has given to humanity to fill their days. I've seen every piece of art created under the sun, and lo and behold, it's all conceit and chasing after the wind. Something that is lacking cannot be numbered, and something that is crooked cannot be straightened. I said to myself, "See, I have become wiser and more mature than any previous ruler of Jerusalem. A wealth of knowledge and wisdom has flooded my heart." So I set out to learn about wisdom, craziness, and foolishness, and I thought that this was also chasing the wind. This is because pain increases with knowledge, and learning brings sorrow. In doing so, the preacher reveals the futility of all earthly pursuits. Chapter 2. The Emptiness of Pleasure and Wealth. I said in my heart, "Come now, let me test you with pleasure and enjoy what is good." But behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, "It is madness," and of pleasure, "What does it accomplish?" I sought in my heart to cheer myself with wine, yet my wisdom remained with me. I wanted to grasp folly, to understand what is good for men to do beneath heaven during their few days of life. I took on ambitious initiatives, such as planting vineyards and building homes. I created orchards and gardens and planted a variety of fruit trees. I made water ponds to support thriving groves. I hired slaves, both male and female, had servants born in my home, and had more sheep and herds than anybody else in Jerusalem. I collected gold and silver, the wealth of provinces and monarchs. I indulged in every pleasure imaginable, and amused myself with singers. Thus I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. My wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not withhold. I denied my heart no pleasure, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor. Yet when I looked upon all the works my hands had accomplished and all my toil, behold, it was vanity, a striving after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. I thought about stupidity, insanity, and wisdom. If a man becomes king, what can he do? Just the work that has already been completed. Yes, I did see that just as light triumphs over darkness, wisdom triumphs over foolishness. The fool walks in the dark, but the wise man's eyes are in his mind. However, it seemed to me that they both suffered the same fate. As it happens to the fool, so it will happen to me, I told myself. Why have I been too smart? This, I decided, is vanity as well. Both the smart guy and the idiot will be forgotten in the days ahead, so neither will be remembered forever. The wise man dies, but how? Just like the idiot. I therefore detested life, since I was upset by the labor done in the sun. It was just vanity and chasing after the wind. I hated all of my work since I had to leave it to someone else. Who knows if he'll be smart or stupid? But he will have control over everything I've worked so hard to accomplish. This is also vanity. As a result, I allowed myself to get hopeless about all the work I had done. Even if a guy works with knowledge, intelligence, and talent, he must give it all to someone who hasn't worked for it. This is a terrible evil and vanity. Under the sun, what good does a man get from all his labor and the anxious striving that weighs on his heart? His work causes grief, and his days are always depressing. His heart never sleeps, not even at night. It's vanity too. For a man, nothing is more satisfying than to eat, drink, and take pleasure in his labor. I saw that this is a gift from God, since, without him, who could eat or enjoy? God bestows knowledge, insight, and delight on the man who pleases him. However, he gives the sinner the responsibility of obtaining and amassing wealth, only to transfer it to the person who pleases God. This is also conceit, chasing the wind. The preacher declares the transient satisfaction of prosperity and the meaninglessness of pleasure. Chapter 3. A time for everything under heaven. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What profit has the worker from his labor? I have seen the burden God has laid upon humanity. He has made everything beautiful in its time and has set eternity in their hearts. Yet no one can fully grasp what God has done from beginning to end. I perceive there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and do good during their lives. It is a gift from God to eat and drink and find satisfaction in one's labor. I know that whatever God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God acts so that men will revere him. What is, has already been, and what will be has already been. God calls back the past. Moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of judgment, wickedness, in the place of righteousness, injustice. I said to myself, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time appointed for every matter and every deed. I reflected upon humanity, seeing that God tests them so they might realize their own nature. Indeed, the fate of humans is like that of animals. Both share the same breath. As one dies, so dies the other. Both have the same destiny. Man has no advantage over beasts, for everything is vanity. All go to the same place, all come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows whether the human spirit ascends upward, or the spirit of animals descends into the earth? Thus, I concluded that nothing is better for a man than to rejoice in his work, for this is his portion. Who can bring him to see what will come after him? Thus speaks the preacher, revealing the rhythms of life and the mystery of time's purpose under heaven. Chapter 4. The Loneliness of Ambition. After that, I turned once more to see all the oppressions carried out in the sunlight. I witnessed the cries of the downtrodden, who had no solace. Their oppressors held the power, and no one was there to comfort them. I therefore gave thanks to those who have already died, who are more fortunate than those who are still alive. However, the one who has never existed and has never witnessed the awful activity done under the sun is superior to both. I also thought about how the envy of another person is the source of all labor and skillful labor. This is a pursuit of the wind and vanity as well. The idiot eats his own flesh while folding his hands. 1 handful of peace is preferable to 2 handfuls of work and running after the wind. Then I noticed something else pointless in the sun. A man by himself without a brother or child. His work never ends, though, and wealth never satisfies his gaze. For whom am I toiling and depriving myself of good, is a question he never pauses to consider. This is vanity too, a sad enterprise. They have a decent reward for their work. Thus 2 is better than 1. The other will raise his friend if the first one falls. However, the person who falls alone and has no one to pull them up is doomed. Once more, 2 people can stay warm if they lie down together. But how can 1 person stay warm on their own? Additionally, 2 can resist the assailant even if one is overcome. A triple cord does not break easily. A clever and impoverished young man is preferable to an elderly and stupid ruler who has lost the ability to accept counsel. In fact, even if the young man was born into poverty in his kingdom, he might emerge from prison to rule. I saw that the young person who succeeded the king was surrounded by all living things. However, those who arrive later won't celebrate him either. This too must be vanity, a chasing of the wind. In doing so, the preacher reveals the hollowness of ambition, the anguish of loneliness, and the transient solace of friendship. Chapter 5. Reverence before God and the futility of riches. When you approach God's sanctuary, watch your feet. Get close to listen instead of offering foolish people as sacrifices, since they are unaware of their wrongdoing. Because God is in heaven and you are on earth, don't speak quickly or hastily in front of God. Instead, speak sparingly before him. A fool's voice is full of words, and dreams are full of worries. When you promise God something, don't wait to carry it out. He doesn't like fools, so keep your word. Vows that are not kept are preferable to those that are. Don't allow your words to lead you astray, and don't argue with God's message by claiming that it was a mistake. Why should God be offended by your words and ruin the labors of your hands? Because there is emptiness in a lot of words and dreams. Fear God, then. Don't be amazed if you witness the persecution of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness in the country. One official is responsible for another, and higher officials are in charge of them all. However, everyone benefits from the land. Even the monarch is reliant on the fields. A person who loves wealth is never content with their income. A person who loves money never has enough. This is also vanity. Consumption of wealth rises along with it. And what use does riches serve the owner, if not to look at it? No matter how much or little he eats, a worker's sleep is lovely, but a rich man's excess prevents him from getting any rest. I have witnessed a terrible evil, wealth that is hoarded at the expense of its owner, or lost due to bad luck, leaving the owner with nothing to provide when he has a child. They all go as soon as they emerge from their mother's wombs nude. Nothing that they can hold in their hands is taken from their labor. This is also a terrible evil. Just as one arrives, one leaves. What does he stand to gain by working for the wind? He eats in the dark every day, feeling angry, ill, and frustrated. It is appropriate for a person to eat, drink, and find fulfillment in their labor under the sun during the few days of life that God has given them, as this is their reward, according to what I have seen to be good. Furthermore, it is God's gift when he bestows wealth and material belongings on someone and allows them to enjoy them, accept their situation, and find satisfaction in their labor. Because God fills their hearts with joy, they will hardly recall the days of their lives. In doing so, the preacher teaches respect for God and exposes the transient nature of wealth and material success. Chapter 6. The vanity of wealth without joy. I have witnessed an evil that burdens humanity. God gives a man riches, wealth, and dignity, ensuring that he has everything he could possibly want, but God denies him the capacity to enjoy it. Rather, they are enjoyed by a stranger. This is vanity, a terrible disease. Even if a guy has 100 children and lives a long life, if his spirit is unsatisfied with life's pleasures and he is not even given a decent funeral, I believe that a stillborn child is better off than him, because in darkness its name is obscured, and the infant arrives in futility and leaves in darkness. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice over and does not enjoy his affluence, it has more rest than that man, despite the fact that it has never seen the sun or known anything. Don't they all go to the same location? Man works hard for his mouth, yet his hunger is never satiated. What is the difference between the wise and the foolish? What benefit does the impoverished man who understands right behavior have over others? What the eyes perceive is preferable to the roaming of desire. Vanity and chasing the wind also apply to this. Everything that exists has already been given a name, and people are recognized for who they are. Nobody who is stronger than them can challenge them. Indeed, conceit grows with the number of words one talks. So what good does man stand to gain? Because in the few short days of a person's existence, which are like a shadow, who can tell what is beneficial for him? After he leaves, who can predict what will happen beneath the sun? Thus speaks the preacher, unveiling the sorrowful vanity of wealth that brings no joy and the endless restlessness of human desires. Chapter 7. The wisdom of a thoughtful life. Fine scent is inferior to a decent name, and the day of death is superior to the day of birth. Everyone dies. The living should take this to heart. It is better to attend a house of grief than a house of feasting. Sadness of face makes the heart wise, hence sorrow is preferable to laughing. The house of sorrow is where the wise people's hearts are, but the house of pleasure is where the foolish people's hearts are. Hearing the wise censure is preferable to hearing the foolish people's song, because foolish people's laughter is vanity, just like the crackling of thorns beneath the pot. A bribe undoubtedly corrupts the heart, and persecution undoubtedly drives a wise person insane. It is better for something to end than to start. It is better to have a patient attitude than a prideful one. Refrain from getting angry easily, because foolish people harbor anger. Why were the former days better than these? Should not be said. This is not a wise question to ask. Like an inheritance, wisdom is wonderful for people who see the sun. Just as money offers safety, so does intelligence. But the benefit of knowledge is that wisdom prolongs the life of the holder. Think about God's creations. Who is able to make things right that he has crooked? Celebrate when things are going well, but remember this when things are tough. God created both so that no one can find anything after him. I have witnessed both the wicked growing in wickedness and the virtuous dying in righteousness during my brief life. Avoid being extremely knowledgeable or righteous. There's no reason to ruin yourself. Don't be too bad or stupid. There's no reason to pass away too soon. The person who fears God will emerge from both. Therefore, it is important that you hold on to one without letting go of the other. More than 10 rulers in a city are strengthened by wisdom. It is true that there isn't a single excellent person on the planet who never commits sin. Additionally, don't listen to everything that people say for fear of hearing your servant condemn you, as you are aware in your heart that you have cursed them numerous times. Wisdom put all of this to the test. I declared, I will be wise, but it eluded me. Who can find that which is so deep and so far away? In order to comprehend, explore, and seek wisdom in the scheme of things, to recognize the absurdity of folly and the folly of wickedness, I turned my heart. And the lady whose hands are chains and whose heart is made of snares and nets is something I find more bitter than death. The sinner is captured, but the one who pleases God is freed. Look, declares the preacher, this is what I have found, combining one thing with another to determine the whole scheme of things, something my soul is still searching for but has yet to find. I've found one man out of 1,000, but I haven't found a woman among them all. You see, I've only seen that, although God created humans to be upright, they have pursued numerous schemes. Thus speaks the preacher, teaching wisdom and moderation in life's journey, revealing the subtle balance between righteousness and humility, and illuminating the profound depth and mystery of true wisdom. Chapter 8. Authority, Justice, and the Mystery of Life. Who is like the wise, and who understands the interpretation of things? A man's wisdom brightens his face, softening the hardness of his countenance. Obey the king's command, I say, because of your oath before God. Do not hasten to depart from his presence. Do not persist in an evil matter, for he does whatever pleases him. Since the word of the king is authoritative, who can say to him, "What are you doing?" Whoever keeps the command will experience no harm, and a wise heart discerns the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and procedure for every matter, though a man's trouble weighs heavily upon him. Indeed, no one knows what is to happen. Who can tell him how it will occur? No one has power over the spirit to retain it, nor power over the day of death. In war, there is no discharge, nor can wickedness deliver those who practice it. I have witnessed everything that is done in this era of one man ruling over another to his detriment. It is vanity, too, that I have seen the wicked buried, those who have come and gone from the holy place and been lauded in the city where they have committed evil. The children of men are predisposed to evil, since the punishment for an evil deed is not carried out promptly. Even if a sinner commits sin 100 times and lives a longer life, I am confident that those who dread God and humbly fear him will be happy. However, because they are fearless in the face of God, the wicked will not fare well, and their days will not be extended like a shadow. The world is filled with vanity. Good men are treated as though they were bad, and bad ones are regarded as though they were good. This, too, is vanity, I remarked. I thus commended joy, since in the days that God has given a man, nothing is better for him than to eat, drink, and be happy, because these things will support him while he works. Even though one's eyes never sleep, I witnessed all of God's handiwork when I devoted my heart to comprehending wisdom and observing all that is done on earth. It's true that nobody can understand what occurs beneath the sun. Man cannot find his significance, no matter how hard he searches for it. A smart guy can't truly understand it, even if he says he does. As the preacher reflects on power, justice, and the mysterious nature of existence, he acknowledges that wisdom finds serenity in admitting its limitations in the face of God's unfathomable mystery. Chapter 9. The Common Destiny of All. After giving all of this careful thought, I realized that God controls the wise and the righteous and their actions. Nobody can predict if the future holds hate or love. Those who are good and those who are bad, those who are clean and those who are not, those who make sacrifices and those who do not all have the same fate. The guilty are like the good, those who fear taking oaths are like those who take them. This evil, that everyone suffers the same fate, permeates all that is done beneath the sun. When people are alive, their hearts are filled with wickedness and lunacy. When they die, they join the dead. A living puppy is preferable to a dead lion. Therefore, everyone who is reunited with the living still has hope, because while the living are aware of their impending death, the dead are unaware of it. They receive no more compensation, and their name is even forgotten. They have long since lost their love, hate, and envy. They will never again have a say in anything that is done. Therefore, since God has already acknowledged your works, go and eat your bread with delight, and drink your wine with a joyful heart. Let your clothes always be white, and let your head always be dripping with oil. Throughout your brief existence, which God has given you beneath the sun, live a happy life with the wife you love. Because this is your share of life and the work you do under the sun, put all of your effort into whatever your hand finds to do, because where you are going, to the grave, there is no work, no planning, no knowledge, and no wisdom. After I got back, I realized that time and chance affect everyone. The race is not for the quick, the fight is not for the strong, the bread is not for the wise, the riches are not for the intellectual, and the favor is not for the knowledgeable. Furthermore, nobody can predict when their time will arrive. The children of humanity are entrapped by catastrophe when it unexpectedly falls upon them, just as fish are captured in a terrible net, or birds are trapped in a snare. I was also deeply impressed by this example of wisdom under the sun. A powerful king attacked a little city with few residents, encircled it, and erected massive siege works against it. However, there was a wise, impoverished guy in that city who, through his insight, saved it. But that poor man was forgotten. I therefore asserted that wisdom is better than strength. However, the poor man's remarks are no longer taken seriously, and his wisdom is hated. Quiet words spoken by the wise are to be heard above the shouts of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Thus speaks the preacher, revealing the shared destiny of humanity, urging each soul to embrace life's fleeting joys and wisdom's quiet strength in the face of uncertainty. Chapter 10. The Folly that Corrupts Wisdom. A bit of foolishness surpasses dignity and intelligence, just as dead flies make even a jar of great ointment smell bad. The heart of a fool leans to the left, whereas the heart of a smart man leans to the right. A fool lacks common sense and demonstrates his foolishness to everyone, even when he is just strolling down the street. Do not leave your position if a ruler becomes enraged with you, as composure can put serious transgressions to rest. I have seen an evil under the sun, a mistake coming from the ruler. The rich sit in low places, and foolish people sit in high ones. Princes walk on the ground like slaves, and I have seen slaves mounted on horses. Anyone who excavates a pit could fall into it, and anyone who breaches a wall could get bitten by a serpent. Anyone who splits logs puts themselves in danger, and anyone who quarries stones could get hurt. More strength is needed if the axe is dull and its edge is not keen, but victory comes from intelligence. The charmer will not make any money if the serpent bites before it is enchanted. When a wise man speaks, he gains favor. When a fool speaks, he is consumed. His statements are foolish at the start and wickedly insane in the conclusion. Nevertheless, the idiot multiplies words, but nobody can predict what will occur. Who can predict what will happen to him? Because he doesn't even know how to get into town, the labor of a fool wears him out. O kingdom whose princes feast in the morning and whose ruler is a young man, woe to you! O kingdom whose lords feast at the right time, for strength, not for intoxication, and whose monarch is of noble birth, you are blessed. The home leaks due to idle hands, and the roof sinks in due to indolence. Money is the solution to everything, but wine makes life joyful, and a feast is prepared for laughter. Don't curse the affluent in your bedroom or the monarch even in your thoughts, because a winged creature might report what you say, and a bird of the air might transmit your speech. Thus speaks the preacher, exposing how easily wisdom is corrupted by folly, and teaching vigilance, prudence, and the quiet strength that guards one's steps in a world filled with foolishness. Chapter 11. The Wisdom of Boldness and Trust. If you cast your bread into the sea, you will eventually find it again. Since you have no idea what calamity might strike the world, give a piece to 7, yes, even to 8. A tree that falls to the north or south will lie in its original location. If the clouds are full of rain, they will release their contents onto the ground. Nobody will sow if they watch the wind, and nobody will reap if they watch the clouds. You are unaware of God's work, which creates everything, just as you are unaware of the wind's path or how a pregnant woman's bones form in her womb. You should plant your seed in the morning and avoid being idle in the evening, since you have no idea which will be successful, this or that, or whether both will perform equally well. The sun is a sight to behold, and light is delightful. No matter how long someone lives, let them enjoy every moment of it. However, let him keep in mind that there will be many dark days. The future is all vanity. Young man, rejoice in your youth, and let your emotions uplift you during those years. Walk in the ways that your heart and eyes desire. But be aware that God will judge you for all of these things. Therefore, take the pain out of your body and the sadness out of your heart, because youth and the prime of life are short. Thus speaks the preacher, calling for boldness in action. Trust in divine mystery and joy in the fleeting beauty of life, reminding all that though the future is unknown, to live fully and righteously is the sacred task of each passing day. Chapter 12. Remember your Creator before the end. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years draw near when you will say, I have no pleasure in them, before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble and the strong men stoop, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through the windows grow dim, when the doors to the street are shut and the sound of grinding fades, when people rise up at the sound of birds but all their songs grow faint, when they are afraid of heights and of dangers in the street, when the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along and desire is no longer stirred. Then man goes to his eternal home, and mourners go about the streets. Prior to the silver cord breaking, the golden bowl shattering, the pitcher breaking at the spring, the wheel breaking at the well, the dust returning to its original state, and the spirit returning to the one who bestowed it, remember him. According to the preacher, vanity of vanities. Everything is selfish. In addition to his wisdom, the preacher imparted knowledge to the populace by carefully considering, finding, and organizing numerous proverbs. The preacher tried to come up with catchy phrases and write accurate, truthful sentences. The sayings that have been gathered by one shepherd are like deeply buried nails, and the wise people's remarks are like goads. Anything more than them, my boy, beware. Making a lot of books never ends, and studying a lot wears one out. Now that everything has been said, the subject has been resolved, man's only responsibility is to fear God and obey his commands, because all actions, whether good or wicked, will be judged by God, including those that are hidden. Thus ends the voice of the preacher, not with certainty but with reverence, not with answers but with awe. He has walked through the winding shadows of life, uncovered the vanity of worldly striving, and returned, as all must, to the only foundation, to remember the Creator, for in him alone lies meaning beyond the sun. Final reflections. Before the dust returns. You have walked through the corridors of silence with the preacher, through laughter and sorrow, wealth and ruin, wisdom and madness. You have heard his voice not as a man speaking from a pulpit, but as a soul confessing what it learned when all illusions were stripped away. Perhaps, like him, you have chased the wind. Perhaps you've stood beneath the sun and asked, is this all there is? And yet, here you are, still searching, still listening. That in itself is holy. Ecclesiastes does not offer the comfort of easy truths. It offers something deeper, an invitation to live fully while we still breathe, to savor simplicity, to honor the weight of time, and to remember our source before the final breath returns us to the silence from which we came. If this journey stirred something in you, if it whispered truths you've long felt but never spoken, then we invite you to walk with us again. Subscribe to the Middle Book channel, where timeless words meet timeless souls. Here, the ancients speak softly, and those who still listen are never alone.